They said it was a ghost town. They didn't mention the ghost was a sniper. In 60 seconds, he killed my spotter and cornered me. My commander's response: "You're on your own." The wind howled through the skeletal remains of the Soviet-era mining town, a mournful sound that scraped against Sergeant Kate Jensen's raw nerves. It carried flurries of snow, stinging her exposed cheeks and dusting the rusted iron husks of forgotten machinery. 3 days. 3 days they'd been trekking through this frozen hell in the Caucasus Mountains, tasked with scouting the abandoned settlement of Krasnaya 7 for signs of separatist weapon caches. Intel had called it a dead zone. A relic of a fallen empire, populated only by ghosts. The first shot was a clean, sharp crack that ripped through the oppressive silence. It was nothing like the chaotic rattle of an AK-47. It was the sound of a professional. Kate saw it before she truly processed it. Private Miller, barely 20 and still with the Midwest blush on his face, jerked backward as if yanked by an invisible wire. A crimson flower bloomed on his chest, a grotesque splash of color against the winter white of his camouflage. He fell without a sound, his eyes wide with a final, uncomprehending surprise. The snow around him instantly drank the red. "Sniper!" Kate screamed, her voice swallowed by the wind as she dove behind a crumbling concrete barricade. The impact of her body against the frozen ground sent a shockwave through her bones. To her right, Cohen, her comms specialist, scrambled behind the wreck of a ZIL-130 truck, its tires long since rotted away. The second shot came less than 5 seconds later. It wasn't aimed at her or Cohen. It struck the ground near Petrov, their medic, who had been moving to Miller's position. The bullet ricocheted off the icy asphalt, tearing through Petrov's thigh. He screamed, a raw, animal sound of pain, and collapsed into the open. He was a perfect target, lying in the middle of what they now understood was a meticulously chosen kill zone. And then, nothing. The silence returned, heavier and more menacing than before. The sniper didn't finish Petrov. He was playing with them. "Kate, what's the read?" Cohen's voice crackled over the internal comms, tight with panic. "Stay put. Don't move an inch," Kate commanded, her heart hammering a frantic rhythm against her ribs. She risked a glance over her barricade. Petrov was trying to crawl, leaving a thick, dark trail in the snow. He was only 50 feet away, but it might as well have been a mile. Another shot cracked the air. It didn't hit Petrov. It kicked up a cloud of snow and dirt a foot in front of his crawling hands. A warning. A demonstration of absolute control. The message was brutally clear: I can kill you whenever I want. You will die when I decide. Kate felt a cold, hard knot of rage tighten in her gut. This wasn't a random insurgent. This was a hunter. Someone with immense skill and a chilling patience, who understood that fear was a more potent weapon than a bullet. And they had walked right into his trap. Hours bled into one another. The sun, a pale disk in the gray sky, began its slow descent, casting long, distorted shadows across the frozen wasteland. Petrov's moans had faded to whimpers, his movements growing weaker. The dark stain on his trousers had spread, melting the snow beneath him into a slush of mud and blood. Every time Kate or Cohen so much as shifted their weight, the sniper would send a reminder, a bullet whining past their heads or striking their cover with enough force to send concrete dust and ice showering down. The cold was a physical enemy now, seeping through Kate's gear, numbing her fingers and toes. But it was the helplessness that was truly freezing her soul. This mission was supposed to be her redemption. 6 months ago, during a raid in the Panjshir Valley, she disobeyed a direct order to fall back, holding a position to provide cover for a pinned-down squad. She'd saved 3 lives, but the after-action report painted her as reckless, a liability. Colonel Vance, a man who saw soldiers as chess pieces, had put her on notice. This simple reconnaissance mission was her last chance to prove she was a reliable asset, a Valkyrie who followed the rules. Now, it was turning into a eulogy for her career, and likely her life. "He's not going to make it, Sarge," Cohen whispered over the comm, his voice cracking. "Petrov, we have to do something." Kate knew he was right. She tried twice to lay down suppressive fire, emptying half a magazine toward the likely sniper's nest in a multi-story administrative building, but the only response was a single, precise shot that had chipped the corner of her barricade inches from her face. There was only one option left. "Cohen, cover me. I'm calling it in." Pressing herself as deep into cover as she could, Kate activated her long-range radio. "Olympus Command, this is Valkyrie 1. Do you copy?" Static answered. Then, a voice, clipped and devoid of warmth. "Valkyrie 1, this is Olympus. Send your traffic." It was Colonel Vance himself. Kate's throat was dry. "Command, we are pinned down. Hostile sniper, expert marksman. We have 1 Kia, Private Miller. 1 W, Specialist Petrov, critical condition. We are in a kill zone and cannot move. Requesting immediate QRF and medevac. I repeat, immediate medevac." The silence that followed stretched for an agonizingly long time. Kate could hear the faint hum of the command center, a world away from the freezing wind and the smell of blood. When Vance's voice returned, it was like a blade of ice. "Negative on the QRF, Valkyrie 1. The weather window is closing, and assets are unavailable." "Sir," Kate pleaded, her professionalism cracking, "Petrov is bleeding out. He won't survive another hour. The sniper has us completely locked down." "Sergeant Jensen," Vance's tone was sharp, final. "Your orders are to complete the reconnaissance of the primary target, the administrative building. Proceed, accomplish the mission, and exfil to Rally Point Sierra. If you fail to make radio contact by 0600 tomorrow, your team will be designated MIA. Olympus out." The radio went dead. Kate stared at the handset in her gloved hand, disbelief warring with a tidal wave of fury. No support. No medevac. It wasn't a refusal, it was a death sentence. Vance had just signed their death warrants and hung up. They were being left to rot. Despair was a luxury Kate couldn't afford. With Vance's betrayal echoing in the silence, her mind shifted from survival to pure, cold calculation. The sniper hadn't killed them all. He could have, easily. Petrov was a stationary target. She and Cohen were trapped. This wasn't about killing. It was about something else. "He's hurting us," the thought struck her with the force of a physical blow. She replayed every shot in her mind. Each one seemed designed not just to intimidate, but to guide. When Cohen had tried to shift west, toward the collapsed mine entrance, a shot had driven him back east. When she had feigned a move north, a bullet had impacted the ground to her south. He was pushing them. Pushing them toward the one place command had been so insistent she scout, the administrative building. It was a trap within a trap. But staying put was a slower, colder death. She had to move. She had to change the game. Using a series of curt hand signals, she communicated her plan to Cohen. He looked at her as if she were insane, his eyes wide with fear, but he gave a short, jerky nod. He trusted her judgment more than Vance's orders. Kate's target was a ruined depot that sat between her position and the administrative building. It was a mangled skeleton of steel and concrete, offering a chaotic maze of cover. She began to crawl, moving backward, keeping her profile agonizingly low. Every scrape of her gear on the icy ground sounded like a gunshot in her ears. The 50-yard crawl felt like a marathon across a landscape of broken glass and frozen rebar. She made it inside the depot's shell, the darkness and dense wreckage providing immediate concealment. The air was thick with the smell of rust and damp decay. As she navigated through a tangle of fallen girders, her boot hit something soft. She looked down. It was a body. Or what was left of one. The soldier was wearing American combat fatigues, but the camouflage pattern was an older, obsolete design. He'd been dead for a long time, months at least. His gear was stripped, but his dog tags were still there, tucked inside his shirt. Kate's hands trembled as she pulled them free, her breath misting in the frigid air. Staff Sergeant Marcus Thorne. 3rd Special Forces Group. Kate's blood ran cold. The 3rd SFG hadn't been officially deployed to this region in over 2 years. Official records stated they were operating in North Africa. She took a picture of the dog tags with her encrypted wrist device. A few feet away, she found another. And then a third. All American soldiers. All from units that, according to official channels, had never set foot in this godforsaken town. Their bodies had been left here to be consumed by the elements, their existence denied. This mission wasn't about reconnaissance. It was a cleanup. And she and her team were the mops. Shaking with a mixture of fear and dawning horror, Kate reached the far side of the depot, ready to make the final dash to the administrative building. That's when the voice called out. It came from a loudspeaker, clear and calm, with a perfect, unaccented American English that cut through the wind and froze her in place. Sergeant Jensen. I know you can hear me. The voice echoed from the upper floors of the administrative building, the source unseen. It was calm, conversational, and utterly terrifying. He knew her name. Kate flattened herself against a concrete support pillar, her rifle snapping up, her heart a frantic bird beating against the cage of her ribs. You found them, didn't you? The voice continued, carrying a note of weary resignation. Thorne, Gillespie, and Chen. Good men. They died thinking they were fighting for their country. Just like you were supposed to. Her mind was a whirlwind of confusion and adrenaline. The dead soldiers. The sniper's impossible knowledge. The way he had pushed her here. This wasn't random. It was a script. And she had been playing her part perfectly. Who are you? She shouted, her voice hoarse. From his position by the truck, Cohen's panicked voice came over the comm. Kate, what the hell is going on? Who is that? The sniper's laugh was a dry, bitter sound. Tell your friend to stay quiet, Sergeant. This is a conversation for soldiers who've been betrayed by the same flag. The implications hit Kate with the force of a physical shock. The enemy wasn't an insurgent. He was American. You're wondering how I know you, the voice stated, not asked. Kate Valkyrie Jensen. Born in Gary, Indiana. Enlisted at 19 after the steel mill shut down and your brother got sick. Distinguished service in the Panjshir Valley. Recently reprimanded for disobeying a direct order during Operation Iron Gauntlet, resulting in the rescue of 3 Rangers but a formal censure on your record. The world tilted on its axis. Operation Iron Gauntlet was classified. The details of her hearing were known only to a handful of officers at SOCOM. Her hands, slick with sweat inside her gloves, tightened on her rifle. This man had access to her entire life, her deepest secrets. Let me introduce myself, the voice went on, a new layer of cold fury entering his tone. I'm Captain Elias Thorne. Delta Force. Officially listed as killed in action 18 months ago during a black op in this exact location. As you can see, reports of my death were premature. Elias Thorne. The name resonated deep in her memory. Not from a file, but from hushed whispers at Bagram. A Delta captain who had vanished. A ghost. His whole team had supposedly been wiped out in a helicopter crash. A tragic accident. You're lying, Kate yelled, her voice shaking. Thorne's team is dead. I saw the memorial. They needed bodies for the memorial, Jensen, Elias shot back, his voice dripping with venom. They used what was left of my men after Vance left us to be captured and tortured for 6 months. A very moving ceremony, I heard. My wife cried beautifully for the cameras. Vance. He'd said Vance. Sarge, what is he talking about? Cohen's voice was a desperate whisper on the comm. If you're really Captain Thorne, Kate challenged, her mind racing, prove it. Tell me something only a Delta operator would know. The first principal of the unit, Elias replied instantly, his voice low and intense. I will not fail those with whom I serve. Vance failed us, Sergeant. He sent us in to die, and now he's done the same to you. At that moment, as if summoned, Kate's long-range radio crackled to life again. It was Vance. Valkyrie 1, report your status. Have you proceeded to the primary target? Before she could answer, Elias's voice cut through the air. Go on, Sergeant. Tell him you're talking to a ghost. Tell him you found his dirty little secret. See what he says. With a trembling finger, Kate keyed the radio. Her voice was steady, a mask for the chaos raging inside her. Command, this is Valkyrie 1. I am engaging an American operative who claims to be Captain Elias Thorne. He states that Colonel Vance knowingly sent his unit into a trap. Requesting immediate clarification. The silence from Olympus Command was absolute. It was a silence that confirmed everything. When Vance's voice finally returned, it was stripped of all pretense, colder and harder than the surrounding mountains. Valkyrie 1, you are compromised. Disregard enemy propaganda. Your orders stand. Complete the mission or you will be designated hostile. Olympus out. The click of the radio going dead was the sound of her world breaking. Vance hadn't denied it. He hadn't even questioned it. He just threatened her. He already knows you know, Elias said softly, as if reading her thoughts. He was my commander too. He's the one who fed our location to the insurgents. He's the one who's been selling advanced American weaponry on the black market and using black ops missions like yours and mine to cover his tracks and eliminate anyone who gets too close. I need proof, Kate breathed, the words barely audible. It was too monstrous to believe without seeing it. Third floor, Elias said. Northeast corner office. Come see for yourself. But come now. Your friend Petrov, he just stopped breathing. And Vance's cleanup crew is on the way. A fresh wave of grief and rage washed over her for Petrov. There was no time to mourn. She looked at Cohen, who stared back, his face a pale mask of confusion. We're moving, she said, her voice flat. Now. They sprinted across the final open ground, the sniper silent for the first time in hours. The administrative building was a tomb, its interior frozen in time. They found Elias on the third floor, surrounded by a nest of communications equipment, his high-powered rifle resting against a barricade. He was younger than his voice suggested, with the haunted, hollowed-out eyes of a man who had seen the abyss. He didn't raise his weapon. He just nodded toward a ruggedized laptop. Welcome to the truth, Sergeant. Kate and Cohen huddled around the screen. It was all there. Encrypted communication logs between Vance and a network of arms dealers. Offshore bank accounts with millions in deposits. And the most damning file, a mission plan for Operation Valkyrie. Her mission. It detailed how their team was to be funneled into the sniper's kill zone and eliminated. A sub-protocol, authorized by Vance, detailed the deployment of a sanitation team to scrub the site and ensure no survivors. Jesus Christ, Cohen whispered, his hand covering his mouth. He was going to kill us from the start, Kate said, her voice a low growl. The betrayal was so absolute, so vile, it felt like a physical poison in her veins. As if on cue, a low rumble started in the distance. Headlights cut through the twilight gloom, approaching from the north. A convoy of 3 military trucks. The sanitation team. Here's the choice, Jensen, Elias said, grabbing his rifle. You can die here for the lie, or you can fight with me for the truth. He held up a satellite phone. Everything you see here. It's been broadcasting to a dozen secure servers and journalistic backchannels for the last hour. They can kill us, but they can't stop the signal. The choice wasn't a choice at all. It was an inevitability. Kate looked at the approaching headlights, then at the face of the man who had killed her rookie but saved her life. She thought of Miller's surprised eyes, of Petrov bleeding out in the snow, of the forgotten soldiers in the depot. They all deserved more than to be footnotes in a traitor's ledger. "What's the plan, Captain?" Kate asked, chambering a fresh round. Her training, her oath, her entire identity had been burned away, leaving behind a single, hard purpose: justice. Cohen, his fear replaced by a grim resolve, took up a position at the adjacent window, his rifle ready. A grim smile touched Elias's lips for the first time. "The plan is simple. We make them pay. We make sure the men coming through that door understand the price of following orders from a traitor." The truck screeched to a halt below. Doors slammed. The metallic click-clack of weapons being readied echoed in the frozen air. Muzzle flashes began to erupt from the darkness as the cleanup crew started their assault. Kate took a breath, sighted a figure moving between the derelict vehicles, and squeezed the trigger. She was no longer Sergeant Jensen, U.S. Army. She was a witness. A survivor. She was fighting for the memory of the fallen and the truth that had cost them everything. The battle for Krasnaya 7 had just begun, but the war against the lie was already won. The signal was out. The world would know. They chose to fight for the truth. What would you have done? Let us know in the comments below, and please comment with respect for the soldiers who face impossible choices. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that matter.